We've got a lot of maple trees up here in the woods, and we've been extracting the sap and boiling it down into syrup. The process is actually pretty simple, just takes a little bit of time and work. And in this video, we're gonna go through that process. Buy these special taps here that are made for maple trees, or you can just use cheap PVC fittings and make your own. Whatever pipe you have will work just fine. So it's March 9th. It's starting to warm up. It's not really going below freezing and warming up again. So this is probably the last sap we're gonna get, and I think we're just gonna take the taps out. We might get a little bit more sap, but really won't be very much. This is just old leftover plumbing that we had, but this just wiggles out. Here's these special ones that you can buy. But actually what we've found is that sometimes we get more maple syrup just with the old leftover plumbing that we have. About 8 trees is all we can handle just as a hobby. We're definitely trying to keep up with them. We tried tapping a walnut tree, but as you can see, we really didn't get very much in here. And I'm kind of suspecting this is mostly rainwater. We're gonna go ahead and boil it down just to see, but I've heard it's supposed to be really good, but I've also heard you don't get very much and it's worth a lot. Now we'll take these down the hill and start boiling them down. What we've been doing is filling this up with the sap from the trees, boiling it down. You can see it's getting pretty concentrated now. It's almost down at the bottom. You can see color in it. Then we'll go ahead and get the sap from the trees, bring it down, and then add that back in and boil everything down again. All right, we can go ahead and start pouring this in. Now it's important that whenever you're actually getting the stuff up from the woods, if it starts getting warm out, like every day it's in the 60s, the sap will actually start going rancid. So this is why we're also stopping right now, because the sap will start going bad if it's up. So here we have it's actually a piece of sheet metal that we riveted together, and it acts as a chimney. And whenever we first started the maple process of boiling it down into syrup, the smoke from the fire would go up into the syrup and give it like a kind of a strong smoky taste. But what this does is it separates the steam and the smoke, so it gives the syrup a little bit of a less smoky taste. We just use old brush and logs in a wood fire to keep that warm, and this will really start getting to a rumbling boil. So here's some of the maple syrup from the first batch, and this stuff is really good. It's strong and it's really sweet. It's probably the best syrup you'll ever have, and I would highly recommend making. As much heat as we can in here. We got a lot of sticks, a lot of logs in there. Since we have a lot of fluid in here, we don't have to worry about it burning and getting too low. Now, it's starting to get to the point where we need to start watching it. I'm gonna take off that, and you can see it's getting pretty low, so we really need to be careful. Now that we're getting to this point here, I want to keep stirring it, and we're probably also going to take some of this heat out of here and make it a little bit more controlled. I'm going to taste some of this just to see how far it is. It's really good. Right now it's a little thin. It needs a little bit more boiling, but that is really close. All right, so it's probably been about 40 minutes, and this stuff is done. If you take a look at that, if I blow on it, you can see it's starting to get a little thick, and whenever you taste it, it tastes just like syrup. And that is really good. It tastes just like syrup. Now we'll rake out the coals and remove all the heat. All right, we're gonna go ahead and lift this up. Now we'll pour it into our container. Now we just need to filter out the fine stuff, and we'll be done. It takes 40 gallons of sap from the trees just to make 1 gallon of syrup. We're gonna go ahead and start filtering this stuff out. All right, just swirl it around, and you can see there's all our sediment that we got in there. We have a very small amount of sediment for such a large batch here. What we did, the problems we've had last time is it gets too thick. Now we'll pour this last bit through, which has the most sediment in it. Now we'll start scooping it in with the ladle. That looks really good. It has a really nice color to it. Putting that chimney on the cauldron really helped a lot to get the smoky taste out. Smokestack on there, I really don't taste any smoke in here at all. So this is just about 2 full half-gallon jugs. So that's a whole gallon of syrup. That's about 40 gallons of sap that we had to get from the trees. And that's a lot of boiling down, but really it's totally worth it. And it's a lot of fun going up in the woods, getting the sap, boiling it down, and then you get a really nice finished product. This stuff is amazing. You'll find yourself using it on everything.